Hi, I'm Rahul Kulkarni, Chief Technologist at Samagra, and one of the things we do is build open source based AI solutions for digital transformations across states, across population scale. And yes, there are a lot of challenges and opportunities in building for the long tail of India. One of the key challenges is data. So when you think of data being available, models being available for Hindi, maybe Marathi, maybe Tamil, but what about Haryanvi? What about Bhojpuri? What about Garhwali? So there's a dearth of actually coverage in terms of language that we have, and that's coming from dearth of data for these languages. There's also the challenge of specific dialects there. Even though there are Hindi models, they may not understand something that is spoken in a village in Uttar Pradesh. Similarly for Odia and so on. And so that's a question of dialects. And then there's a question of how do you actually have the behavioral change happening on the ground. So not everyone puts up a long prompt. It's not just about a long prompt, but it's also about actually the conversation back and forth. So in India, you generally have a back and forth conversation. It's not a request and response thing. So what is the behavioral change that needs to happen on the ground? But at the same time, what is the behavioral change that can be influenced by software, by interfaces that we can build for the future? Another challenge that we face is benchmarks. If you think of typical benchmarks in the open source world, like MMLU and so on for Q&A, they're all very specific to larger problem statements across English, more generic. But when you think of agriculture, when you think of education, when you think of skilling, when you think of career counseling, what are those benchmarks and how do you evaluate multi-step conversations in these? Lastly, cost is always a challenge. You cannot keep making a trip to large expensive LLMs and actually burn GPUs. One query to a particular, let's say a smallest of open source models, you take a Llama 3, 7 billion or 8 billion Llama 3 model, that would take up an entire 16 GB GPU. If you're using like a 70 billion, then it's going to take up a 80 GB GPU. That's going to burn up at least a few rupees, like 3 to 5 rupees for that. How do you make that at a lower cost? The answer is smaller models. The answer is moving it to devices. So can your phone not run that model? And so there are models like Phi 3 and all. And I hope there are more models that come out of India that actually make that happen for the long tail of India.